of harmony. Left me with
Let's listen to Pavarotti.
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the insaneness, the peculiarity, the absolute just mind-blowing weirdness of the Idaho 4 case, the people involved in the Idaho 4 case, and events surrounding the Idaho 4 case. It never ceases to amaze me, as I'm sure it does you as well. Yesterday I put out part 1 of this 2-part series, and it may go beyond 2 parts at this point, because even as I am completing videos, I'm finding very strange things. Let me just say this. Some things are taking a very, very strange direction. But one thing at a time. Yesterday I started it. Today we're going to finish it. What I'm going to do so I don't lose what I'm trying to say is I'm going to give you a brief recap of what I brought to you yesterday as we go into the new material. So let's get right into it.
They had stash houses of the drugs distributed to mid-level dealers. Authorities built the case using tools like informants and wiretapping.
It's the most significant dealer, or the most significant foot soldier, I suppose, at the bottom rung of organised crime, is the most exploited person in the whole supply chain. And that is the user dealer. It's somebody who is supplying drugs to fund their own habit. More often than not, they're doing that because they've been forced to do so by organised crime. A user dealer, from wherever they're living, they would go where they're told. Now, if you were to ask me how the day went for the person running a team of user dealers, that gangster running a quarter of a city, say, for example, most of those people I've met have been quite professional. They haven't used any drugs. They have been efficient. They have got up in the morning.
So with all that in mind, we started out with the dual addresses concept. And how could having 2 dual simultaneous addresses come into play in a criminal aspect? And then we discussed how and why criminals use multiple addresses simultaneously and the benefits to that for them. Then we looked at the big picture as it relates to trafficking routes in our area of our Idaho 4 case and how it may apply. Then we got more specific in mentioning the 6 degrees of separation of people surrounding this case and how we start connecting the dots to what really happened. And I started with this possible relationship that I believe has been established long ago. And we went into more avenues of establishing it. Starting out with finding out that they too have dual simultaneous addresses, but not only do they have dual addresses, but the proximity of those dual addresses is exactly what we would expect to find if that relationship existed. When we added more of the known players to the list, we realized they too had simultaneous dual addresses. And the proximity of everyone is becoming more and more suspect. We started with Mr. M and how advantageous his dual addresses in Spokane, that were his second addresses rather than his main address in Couer D'Alene could be so advantageous to a group such as this. Then finally pointing out how all of those second addresses encompassing the I-90, I-95, or Highway 95 intersection there in Couer D'Alene would be picture perfect for this group's activities. And then we've got the second leg of a different operation associated to this one beginning to form right in the middle of those addresses in Couer D'Alene with Mr. M.B. His dual addresses in Couer D'Alene and Julietta, Idaho would represent a likely business partner whose independent crew would handle operations from there. What makes this scenario more than plausible is the fact that every single player that we are discussing has felonious backgrounds in an attempt to earn money through either trafficking narcotics or other felonious methods of criminal activity in order to obtain money. So, not the best past when we're looking at these folks. Let's start with this gentleman. Apparently, this guy's life of crime has taken him to many different places. He's currently in prison for unaliving somebody. But you can see in 2017, he was active in the state of Oregon, picking up burglary charges, criminal mischief, and theft. And where was this at in Oregon? It was in a county called Lincoln. Now, if you're as curious as I was to know where Lincoln County, Oregon is, then you'll find that it is one county over from Mason County, Oregon, which contains the city of Eugene, Oregon, right there on the coast. So he is active there in 2017 in criminal activities, as well as, some of the others we'll be discussing here in a minute. As you see, many years ago, down in Portland, Oregon, somebody else we know picked up felony charges. Theft in the first degree, criminal mischief in the second degree, theft in the first degree, all there in Portland, Oregon. $12,500 total on 3 counts. It's a lot of money. Now, I got this off of my guy, Harsh Realities, one of his videos. So I hope he doesn't mind me borrowing it from him, but it shows this guy as a representative of Kootenai Health, and his job is a IT specialist. Now, knowing a few IT specialists and what they earn, I immediately looked up what the average salary was for an IT specialist in northern Idaho, and it's around $61,000 per year. So the fact that it says under here that he is a multi-millionaire, that means more than 1 million, financially semi-retired multimillionaire, whose knowledge, analyst, and prediction of the crypto disruptors reports are legendary. And it also says that he is a Series 7, that's what S7 means, registered representative. Now, let me explain what a Series 7 representative is. If you're a certified Series 7 representative, then you've passed a Series 7 exam, which qualifies you for solicitation, purchase, and or sale of all securities products, including corporate securities, municipal fund securities, options, direct participation programs, investment company products, and variable contracts. So essentially, you're a stockbroker. You have the ability to purchase and sell stocks as a certified Series 7 representative. Now, that's very unusual for a IT guy to have passed the Series 7 exam and to be selling stocks, because most people probably wouldn't want to buy stocks from an IT guy. But apparently he's done that, and he's made millions of dollars doing it on the side. man, he is a self-taught stock savant, or is something else going on that enabled him to be so successful in those endeavors? But before we connect all ties, this one here is the most perplexing out of everyone involved, because it is very difficult to find his actual arrests. It's almost like they've been wiped off of the face of the earth. And you can find remnants of his arrests in many different places. For example, I was searching his California arrests when I found this record showing arrests in Couer D'Alene, Idaho, and Eugene, Oregon. However, with the typical methods of looking up those arrests in Idaho and Oregon, you cannot find anything on them. But I know they exist because this isn't the only record that has led me in that direction, which leaves me to scratch my head on this one, and deeper look into him is definitely going to be required, although I do have a few other things that I'm not going to discuss in this video, but I will discuss in part 3. So moving on though, Eugene, Oregon. Now we've got this guy associated with Eugene. I believe Maddie was born there, if I'm not mistaken. But establishing a narcotics trafficking supply originating at least somewhat out of the Eugene, Oregon area, because that's where the wrecked Elantra was found, to our group in Couer D'Alene has not been easy, but I believe that I've done about as good a job as I can establishing the players that I believe involved to be originating or at least living in the greater Eugene area, as well as the players in Couer D'Alene, 3 of them now tied to criminal activities in that same area. What do you think? Then there was the money laundering methods of the leader of that group that, piques my curiosity. Because you can see it says the couple also admitted to laundering the drug proceeds through casinos and bank accounts. As part of their plea agreement, they will forfeit $700,000 in criminal proceeds. So what happens is with casinos is they will go in, or they will send somebody in with money, and they will wash that money. They'll put it in the slot machines. They'll buy into the blackjack tables. They'll gamble for a while. Then they'll cash out. And now they have clean money that they can then take and invest into things like bank accounts, which cryptocurrency right now is a popular non-trackable bank account for laundering drug proceeds. And who do we know that just can't stay out of those little casinos that could be a prime candidate for doing this for somebody? Now, I know his indictment shows that about 40,000 of the proceeds were washed through a casino there in Tacoma, probably by himself. But that leaves about 680,000 unaccounted for that was washed somewhere. And using those methods, and the 5 casinos surrounding Spokane and Couer D'Alene that we know somebody loves to stay in as much as she can, well, her boss would have an excellent person to go and do the legwork to wash the majority of that money before it's invested in his stock activities. Now you may ask, you've shown us all this stuff and you've gave us some possibilities, but what do you think all this means, Pavarotti? Well, here is my interpretation of all this information. Here's my opinion, and I'm not here to slander anyone. But I believe that there are individuals that are operating a very old trafficking route from Mexico all the way into Boise and beyond, and they are playing their roles in their different areas of that route. I believe the alpha all the way to the right in his group supply everything all the way through Spokane. I believe through connections that he has with the brother of an inmate, he has hooked up with a group that handles operations from Spokane to Couer D'Alene. And then the next group picks up where they leave off and handle operations from Couer D'Alene to Julietta down into Boise. 3 different groups operated by 3 different alphas, all included in one long old trafficking route.
Stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it.
Now, I believe this had been going on for several years, just with different suppliers on the front end. But from Spokane to Couer D'Alene, you have 2 stash houses, and then you have the mules that would transfer between the 2 stash houses. And then also they would supply the town. But the person supplying them has changed over the years. And I think he did this until recently he got a little bit too smart and he expanded into laundering the funds. And that's where the hiccup really came in. That and his mules started getting out of control and started to get arrested and create more issues for the group than they could handle. And I believe that really came into play with one of his partners. You see, in a setup like this, when the drugs come into Spokane and the mules bring it to the stash house in Couer D'Alene, some of the drugs stay there. Those mules then turn into user dealers and supply the town. What doesn't stay, though, goes to the next group. That's why the houses are so conveniently located near each other. They can just transfer it over, and then the next group will use their mule/user dealers to transport from Couer D'Alene down to Julietta. And the problem happens, though, when the 2 mules that are delivering knows the other 2 mules that are delivering and knows when they're delivering, because law enforcement can take advantage of that knowledge. Because when you use your get out of jail free card and you tip off a task force that your counterpart mules are going to be making a delivery and when and where, and you would be the ones that would have knowledge of it, well, you may have tipped off law enforcement on the wrong group of individuals, and it would be fairly easy for them to figure out who did it.
Left me with the pieces of forever that you broke.
Now, folks, it's in part 3 where things may take an unexpected turn to where none of us thought it was going to. Because when you get into the next group that I've mentioned many times, we're going to start to learn new things that we didn't previously know. How different people connect and how scenarios and possibilities become plausible. You're going to want to catch that one. But please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, thoughts, criticisms. Till next time, Pavarotti's out.